We navigate life on a basic assumption. Every event has a rational, physical cause. But in certain corners of the world, that assumption suddenly shatters. Take an isolated worker camp in Al Awir, Dubai. It is a place of utility and routine, a dormitory for expatriate laborers dwarfed by the massive, silent expanse of the surrounding desert. The routine there held until a new worker named Mirza arrived. He refused to speak, ignored every greeting, and spent nights staring blankly until exactly midnight, when he would walk out alone into the pitch-black dunes. Over 1,000 miles away, a receptionist faced a similar isolation in Bahria town, Pakistan. He was manning the desk of a half-constructed hospital, a building mostly empty and echoing with the sounds of ongoing construction. His shift was interrupted by a glass-shattering crash in the basement, where he found nothing broken and no one present. Minutes later, a veiled woman appeared in the lobby. She was silent, but when he briefly touched her hand to guide her, her skin was unnervingly, unnaturally hot. Both men were witnessing their predictable worlds develop a hairline fracture. They were left with a choice: accept the impossible or apply logic to a situation that broke the rules. In Dubai, Rahil and his friend Amir couldn't settle for silence. They decided to abandon caution and secretly track Mirza deep into the midnight desert to see exactly where he was going. Far from the camp's lights, they found Mirza with a strange man beside a small fire. Between them sat a small earthen pot, tightly sealed with black cloth and rough twine. The strange man confessed they were performing a ritual to manipulate a woman back in Pakistan through some dark magic. As Rahil approached, the terrified man began to panic, pleading to stay away from the pot. Rahil, driven by a need to expose the fraud, ignored the warnings and stepped forward. He grabbed the pot and forced the knot open. Instantly, the desert wind stopped. An unnatural heaviness filled the air. Mirza snapped out of his trance and lunged at Rahil with sudden, predatory violence. By forcing that knot open, Rahil dismantled the only barrier between himself and the ritual. In his rush to demand a logical answer, he inadvertently provided the entity with a direct path into his own space. At the hospital in Pakistan, the receptionist also turned to logic to solve the mystery of the veiled woman who had vanished into a locked, empty washroom. The next morning, he insisted his supervisor pull the hospital's CCTV footage. He needed to see exactly who had walked through those doors at 10 p.m. They found the timestamp, and the footage revealed a chilling discrepancy. The automatic doors slide wide open, but the street outside is completely empty. No one enters the building. The video then shows the receptionist standing up and gesturing toward thin air. He spent several long minutes talking and walking alongside a phantom person who simply did not exist on the record. That night, the entity escalated its presence. As he sat at his desk, the air turned freezing, and he heard the distinct sound of heavy breathing directly against his ear. Then, the invisible presence turned physical. Both the receptionist and a nearby nurse felt searing pain. They were left with deep, raw claw marks on their skin. Injuries a doctor later confirmed were human nail slashes, despite no one being near them. Relying on security cameras and rational inquiry didn't provide safety. It only stripped away the receptionist's ability to deny the threat. The investigation proved the entity was real, invisible, and capable of causing harm. In Dubai, the company handled the situation with cold efficiency. To restore order to the camp, they canceled Mirza's visa and ordered his immediate deportation. As Mirza packed his bags, he gave Rahil a final quiet warning. Not everything goes away with the person. The implication was clear. The entity they disturbed in the desert wasn't bound to Mirza. It was now a permanent fixture of the dunes. The hospital owners took a different path, turning to spiritual cleansing. They brought in children to recite the Quran and distributed charity, hoping to settle the atmosphere that had been agitated by the receptionist's discovery. In both the desert and the hospital, seeking a logical explanation only seemed to sharpen the intensity of the encounters. Investigation didn't lead to a solution. It only served to validate the presence of something that shouldn't exist. Rahil and the receptionist discovered that when a situation defies every known law of nature, searching for an answer can be a dangerous mistake. Sometimes the safest survival strategy is to stop looking, turn around, and leave the door closed.